Wow. Wow. I think someone turned up the volume in my head to like 1,000. Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Dane podcast. I'm your host, Dana Trimborn, and this podcast is a random hodgepodge of topics that gets released on every Tuesday on, your preferred platform, of course. And I really enjoy sharing my personal stories and making those connections with you guys and just really being relatable, all in a fun and silly environment. Alrighty, my friends. Let me ask you, how many of you have ever gotten injured before? And now, how many of you have ever gotten a concussion? Yeah, I'm nodding my head because I'm saying yes to both. And actually, I've gotten 2 concussions, and neither of those were fun. So I can definitely relate to you if you've had one, and maybe you have one right now, or who knows. But if you do think you have one or know someone that does have one, I will share some of my tips with you and see what things to look out for. All right. So let's get into it. So I'm going to take you back to 2014. And this was when I was at what I really call my first job, but technically was my third job because I was there for 5.5 years. So I had just started there. I wasn't there that many months, maybe 5 or 6 months. So definitely under a year. Okay. And I had heard about how the company, they were going to do a dodgeball little game happening down in Cherry Hill because they had multiple offices. So some offices were in New Jersey. I was here in KOP. They also had one in Philly. So, company-wide email goes out, and, I love games, love competition. I'm signing up for this. I don't even care. I don't know, many people quite yet, because you find your work friends or whatever. And so I just remember not seeing anyone sign up from King of Prussia, which totally fine. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go down. I'm going to have fun. And it was actually at Sky Zone. So if anyone has been there, you know that it's basically a trampoline park. Yeah, you can play basketball, you can just jump around, do some gymnastics. So we were playing games against each other on the trampolines, and it was so fun. So fun until I got nailed in the head. Yeah. So everything's all good and fun, and all of a sudden, and I did not even see this out of my periph. And before you know it, I'm getting hit in the side of my head, upper left side. Okay. And I'm damn it. And now I'm out. So now I got to wait until the game is over to get back in. And so, now the game's over, and then I get back into the new game. And sure enough, I'm getting some people out, I'm dodging, I'm, doing a little shimmy to doing some moves to, dodge the ball. Okay, that was cheesy. But yeah, and then I see this time the ball coming straight for my head. Now on the right side, okay, but I catch it. So I caught it like right at my head, which I'm like, fuck. Like literally I just got hit in the head 10 minutes ago. Now I just got hit in the head again, second time. Like, okay, cool. This is so cool. Like, do it again. Let's see what happens now. Like, I'm going to be dead. So I was so pissed. But also I was like, yeah, I just fucking caught it. Like, fucking get out. Like, hello, let's go. This is, I was so like hyped up, but I was also like very angry because now I got hit twice in the head. First off, who is aiming for anyone's head? And I get it. I'm very short. Okay. But come on, I'm short. So aim for my legs. But obviously they have like bad aim because they got my face. And yeah, the IT people, they were there because they were like taking videos of this. Yeah, I know. Videos of this game where I could see now, me getting hit in the head back to back. Wow, something to watch. And I even remember he was saying like, oh, better not have any concussions. And I thought, what? Just thinking, to myself and internally, because I've never gotten a concussion. Why would I have a concussion now? Like, this is just like dodgeball. Like, I don't know. And yes, like, it's kind of, those balls are more like that hard, like foam kind of ball. It's not like a kickball kind of ball, but it's also it's not actually soft. So it is going to hurt. So then, I kept playing, like, I don't know. And I kept going and drove home and like by myself. And I don't know. And then probably it wasn't until the next day when I went into work that I thought something doesn't feel right. This is not right. And, I'm sitting there and, I'm on the computer all day. Who isn't? So, and I remember like I was trying to type this email out and I was like, oh my gosh, like I like literally cannot concentrate. I can't do this. Like it was taking me like 10 years to do one email. And yeah. And you don't feel right because your body than anyone else. Your doctors, they can try to tell you, well, this is how you feel, but truly, you are the one here. You are the one. So then, after that, I'm like, I gotta go to the doctor. Like, I can't be sitting here. So I remember going to my PCP, trying to figure this out and describe what I was feeling. And sometimes it's hard to describe, these kind of symptoms, with the concussion, because it's not like so cut and dry. So yeah, I just remember like having like pressure in my head but it didn't feel like a headache. Okay. So a little bit different. But then after that, I did end up going to a neurologist, which helped too. And oh my gosh, I'm just remembering now that I remember she had me like count back from 100 like by sevens. And I thought, who can do this in real life? You want me to do this now? Oh my gosh. But so yeah, needless to say, I was struggling to count backwards by sevens. But I was like doing good. I was like, oh God, I don't know. But yeah, it's like you can't like, what are you saying to me? But this one, wasn't terrible. It wasn't fun either. So I was out of work for a week, and like because I wasn't there a year yet, I couldn't use like family medical leave. So I had to use vacation time, which, amen, I still had vacation time saved. And having just started, so it's like I wasn't doing anything or going anywhere. But yeah, couldn't do any screen time, and I'll get into that more with my second concussion. But yeah, you can't do any screen time, so your phone, like the TV, like you can barely exercise. Like, let me go walk 10 minutes. Cool. Like, this is so great. But so yeah, so that was that. It was very interesting because I thought, wow, I did all these sports growing up and played a lot of different sports, and some, yeah, were more like contacts, ish, like a basketball and a soccer, But yeah, so it's crazy. I'm like, how does this happen to me? Like, I'm at work at a new job, and hey, here we are. So that was 2014. Now, let's fast forward to 2019. Okay. And it was April. I do remember that. I feel like some of these things you just like remember. They just stay in your brain because it was an experience to remember. If you can remember, right? Because if you're concussed, how are you going to remember anything? Matt and I we were like, had plans to go out to dinner. And yeah, so at the time, like, we still had lived in our own places. Like, we obviously like weren't here in Conchi quite yet. And so we were like debating, like, do we drive and then take the train from Conchi, go down, we were getting dinner in Manayunk, or, it was just like kind of like such a process. So then we just thought, like, because then after that we were going to go out into the city. So we're like, let's just take an Uber or like a Lyft, and then we'll just do that. So we're like, all right. Yeah, so hop in the Lyft. Yeah, buckle it up. All right. And now we're going through Conchi because we got it from Matt's old place in Norristown. So coming down this way, we go down, we're just like going down Ridge. We pass the Giant there, okay? The New Orange Theory right there. And then you pass Joshua Road, and then, it starts to like bottleneck. You know what I mean? Like, the cars just like, no one knows what to do. And people are just braking and braking. This was like about like 5-6 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, now people are stopped. People are stopped in traffic, okay? Because we're leading up to, I think it's like Manor Drive right there, and the Chubb Hotel is on your right, okay? If you could picture. All of a sudden, Matt and I are talking in the back, we're both buckled in and whatnot, and all of a sudden we start to hear like this screeching, and before you can think or look to do anything, we're getting hit from behind us. Yeah. So, and this was like 2 cars behind. So it was like car 1 created the accident because he was just flying down Ridge like a crazy and wasn't paying attention that, oh shit, like people are fucking braking. Holy moly. And he hits car number 2. And then car number 2 hits us. And then, yeah. So, and it's crazy because the impact, I guess, for us wasn't terrible, but I definitely got like whiplash. Yeah. Because I'm strapped in, and then it's like you hear the screeching, and then it's like a boom, and then another boom that hit us. And now like I'm like moving forward now, and like my head is like, going like front to back, and my brain is like, oh no, because it's sloshing in there. It's sloshing front to back, and that's what was happening in such a fast manner, and you don't even know what's happening until like the next day. And in that moment, I just felt like very shooken up because I didn't know what just happened, because everything was just very loud and like I don't know, like, am I okay? Like, I don't know. Like, Matt seemed to be okay and everything, but and yeah, and definitely, like, especially an accident, I definitely recommend, like, wait until the next day to see how you feel. Like, whatever you were going to do, don't go and do it. Just turn around, like, go home. Because, like, yeah, let's still go out to dinner. And then even at dinner, I was just still, like, so, like, in shock of, like, oh my God, like, because, like, my head, like, hit the back of the headrest. So it wasn't, like, a good feeling, you know? And so then the next day at work, like, I just knew, I was like, I don't feel right. And then all of those, like, memories and, like, symptoms were starting to come back to me of how I did feel, from the first concussion. But this time around, holy, like, this was unreal, because symptoms were popping up left and right like it was nobody's business. It was like, yeah, like, wait, I heard you're having a party. Let's just, like, bombard her. Yeah. So wasn't cool. Wasn't cool. Yeah, so I went to my PCP again, and then went to a neurologist as well. And then he even recommended me to go to optometrist, which was kind of, like, odd, but and he was, looking like, in Conchi, because they told him where I lived. And here it's literally the same place where I go, regularly to get my eyes checked annually, which is just up the street at Neil Eye Group. I'm saying it backwards. Yeah, so it was kind of funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I know this place. I know this place. So it worked out because, it was close to work and close to here, because by the end of it, we had just moved in. So get all into that in a second. But so yeah, like, the reason why I went to an optometrist, because when I was driving to my doctor's appointments, I felt like my eyes, like, I could see, but my left eye, it felt like I was, like, squinting. Like, it was, like, kind of, like, half shut. And I'm like, this isn't right. I'm pretty sure my eyes weren't doing this, And then I thought, oh my God. And then I get in the car again, and I'm like, now my right eye feels like, messed up. And so, like, all these things, like, start to happen. And, I started to just write them down, because I wanted to make sure, like, I'm telling my doctors, like, every single symptom, so, like, they understand. And, I think it's important too, so then they know how to, like, treat and inform their patients too. So yeah, so not cool. And then so then after that, I was, like, out of work, and there'd be days where you wake up and you feel hopeful that, like, maybe I'll feel, like, a little better today. And then after 30 minutes, you're like, fuck, because it's still here. Because with the concussion, you just don't know. Like, it's not like a wound, like an open wound where, let me put this Band-Aid on and some Neosporin. And I love Neosporin because it does the trick. Okay. Like, I'm not putting Neosporin on my brain, because your wound is your brain. Like, you gotta, like, really be careful with this. This is important. So, yeah, it's like, you can't drive anywhere either, which is like, cool. How do I eat? Great. But hey, I think that was literally the only store I was driving to, was the grocery store. So, and even that was, like, an issue, just trying to read labels. I'm like, I can't do this. It was like a nightmare. It was like, literally everything you do is just, like, such a process. But you can't even do that much anyway. But yeah, like, with, feeling good, or, like, hoping to feel good, as opposed to other days, like, I literally thought at one point, like, I'm like, yeah, like, I think I'm good to like go back to work. And then I remember like going back to work, and then I thought, oh my God, why am I here? Like, no, no. Because what happens is, your PCP, they can only tell you so much, and it's like they're relying on you too to like help inform them of like what's going on, like how are you feeling today, like, and so it was almost like a recommendation for my PCP to like, oh, like how about like try going back here. And I thought, like, part of me thought, I was like, is that like, that's like soon, and again, yourself, you don't feel right, turn around. And that's what I did. Like, I probably worked like a couple hours, and that's when I started to feel in my head again, like all of this pressure. It just builds and builds and builds, and it is not cool, not fun at all. Like, and so that's why like they also recommend to, not look at any screens. And you can't do like, yeah, you can't watch like TV, no phone, like, oh, you want to exercise? Oh, go get the mail. Because I'm telling you, I would try to walk like maybe like the furthest I could walk was like 15 minutes, because then all of a sudden it's like, it's this interesting like feeling in your head, kind of like very like foggy, but like I can't even describe it, because it's all I picture is like my brain like just swollen like to the max. Then it's like, yo, stop walking, you need to go lay down, to like let me chill. But really, because but it was tough, because I love to be active and like be moving and doing something, go to the gym, like lifting and, cycling and just like all these things. And like, you can't do any of it. And I guess the closest like to like what I would describe like the feeling is like kind of like a buzz. Like, yeah, I just had some drinks and now I'm buzzed. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and it kind of hangs there for a while, so it kind of takes some time for it to like come down. So very interesting process, but yeah. But yeah, let me give you like some other like experiences too, like that I had with the second concussion. So one thing that came up too, because my mom was like, oh, like, I can come down, and because I was in Havertown, so I can come down and like I can take you out to lunch. And I was like, okay, like, just because I wasn't sure, like with being out and like a crowd or like, I don't know. So anyway, we get there, and it was a little cafe, and sat down, and wow. I think someone turned up the volume in my head to like 1,000, because I could hear so much stuff and this like background noise. And it's like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now? Because I was so sensitive to the noise in there that I just felt so uncomfortable. Like I needed to get out. But, it was just like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I don't remember any of it. Like, none of this happened the first concussion. But I mean, again, it's like, once you have more than one, like, you are going to have, like, these other symptoms. I mean, it's just like, that's how it goes. I would say, too, like, really, like, each day, pay attention to how you feel. Why? Because weeks and weeks later, all of a sudden, I wake up and I feel like this pain in my neck. And I'm like, this was not here. And it wasn't just like from sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, like something is up. And yeah, because I think, when we were in the car, like sitting, I had my head turned left, looking at Matt and chatting, and then it was like kind of like a boom, it was like a smack and then a ka-ching with my head to the headrest. So yeah, so these things happen, and that's what I mean, like, sometimes like after like an accident, depending on how bad it is, like, oh, like go to the emergency room and this and that. But like honestly, like, okay, unless you're like really like messed up, then okay. But I would wait to see how you feel, because why are you gonna crank up your bill at the hospital for, something you can go to like your doctor for? So I actually ended up going to a chiropractor because I've had good experience with that as far as like, pain in general, my back pain and neck pain. And so I thought, let me go. And so I went several times and definitely helped like immensely. So yes. So please like keep an eye out like of what, goes on, because it does change over time. And just jot it down on a piece of paper, right? And what else? So, avoid loud places. I was telling you about the fogginess. Oh, one other thing too. Like, I felt so tired, because like your brain is trying to heal. Like, it doesn't know what's going on. Like, it doesn't want you to do anything. And that's kind of why, like, you aren't supposed to do anything. And even, like, I would off and on, like, listen to something. But I remember actually from my first concussion, the neurologist had told me, like, yeah, it's, like, not really recommended to, like, listen to anything, like, music. And I thought, really? But, I mean, it's your brain. Like, you use your brain for literally anything. So it's, like, the less you do, like, day to like your daily routine or like whatever, like it's probably an idea to not do it. But I will say I didn't do it like all the time, but I did put on like a podcast and like listen to like short stories, because I'm like, what do I do all day? Like the time goes so slow, and it's like, I think the people that I talked to the most was like, my insurance agent and, HR and my mom. Because they, were kept checking in and like, how are you feeling? Because they have to keep, tabs on everything. And so pretty wild. One other thing too, actually a couple of other things, so bear with me, but alcohol. Okay, so do not do it. Do not try to drink when you have a concussion. I remember before, like, I could have like a little bit, but with this one, I feel like I had like, I kind of waited. Obviously, I didn't like have it like the next day. Like, yeah, look at me. Like, I'm drinking like a draft beer of Yingling, but I did realize that it's almost like you take like 2 sips, and you're like, you're done. That's it. You're toast. You are done. So definitely like be careful with that, and like, keep an eye out, because if it is like your first concussion, like you might be okay with it, but at the same time, it's like, do you need it? Yeah. Whereas like your second or third concussion, probably best to avoid it altogether, because not gonna lie, like there was times where I'm like, it's been, a month or whatever, and I thought, yeah, like, let me try again. And then I was like, oh my God, why did I drink that? And then I felt awful. So not fun. So you're hearing it from someone that really had just like so many like horrible symptoms, that it's just like, you want to feel good. And when you can't feel good and you don't know when you're going to feel good, then that sucks. one thing too to look out for, confusion, because it would be like the most simplest, words. I could not even think of what the word is. And I even remember I called my neighbor the wrong name because I thought like when we first moved to Havertown that like he looked like a Mike, but like really his name isn't Mike. And now I don't remember his name. And I don't know if because like Matt had just like he was like talking like to like he was like mentioning his brother's name and his brother's name is Mike. So I don't know if I had gotten that in my brain real quick and then like looked at my neighbor and you know what I mean? Then when you think about something and then you spit it out and you're like, oh, that's not your name, But no, so that was like one time where I wasn't like quite sure if that was like confusion, like because your doctor will ask you that, and then Matt and I were chatting about something and talking about like when we were like kids and like we had stuffed animals and whatnot, and I was like, oh yeah, and like I remember going to Build-A-Bear and so I was trying to describe the bear, and because it was a white bear, okay? And what I was trying to think of was a polar bear. Could not even remember the name polar bear. Nope, wasn't happening. I was like, what's the the bear, it's a white bear, that one. And I laugh now, but at the time it's like not cool. It's not cool. Like this is scary shit. So yeah, and then I was like, maybe I am having some confusion, just like I can't remember, and like I don't know, like it was just not fun. But oh well, do you think I gained anything from these concussions? I think now I know what Matt is going to say. Just kind of like I just know like what's gonna pop out of his mouth, like, oh, what do you want for dinner, Dana? Oh. But yeah. So there you have it. Some of my stories for you, and not the best times, but it's an experience, and I enjoy sharing this with you so like what kind of things to look out for, especially if like a friend or family member, whomever, that you can kind of guide them or like keep an eye out on, hey, like your head, it's gonna feel like you're drunk, so watch out. But yeah, and ultimately, like, just rest. You have to rest because your brain needs to recover. Yes, it does. Doesn't want anymore. And yeah, with the vision therapy, it definitely helped. And apparently, I guess, like, I don't wear any glasses either. So I guess, with, looking at something like up close, whereas like then you have to like use your vision, like skills is what I'm going to call it, like to look, distance. So I was doing different exercises. And so I guess, was never really corrected ever. So now like when I had the second concussion, that, it really just messed things up, really messed it up. So definitely helped. It did take quite some time. Like I probably started in May or something, or I don't know, and then didn't finish till September. So it was quite the journey, but eyes are all good now, and those people were wonderful, and yeah. So again, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And be sure to listen on the BigDanePodcast.com/podcast. All the fun stuff is there. All the icons and links, everything. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at the Big Dane Podcast. So I hope you have a great rest of the week. All right. Peace out.